Okay, just a quick reminder of what I'm doing in these videos. I'm going through the entire ECDL spreadsheet syllabus, so where we left off in the last video was here. So we're looking at the criterion freeze, unfreeze row and or column titles. So I've updated my spreadsheet a bit. I've used a random name generator to put in some more data. So I've added some more rows, so there's a lot more data to deal with in the table. I must point out at this bit, it doesn't really make sense to add all these numbers up in one total, because some of the prices are in pounds, some are in euros. So again, this is just a kind of arbitrary example that I'm showing you. Okay, so this criteria is to freeze and unfreeze column rows and titles. So I'll show you how to do this. So if we go to, data. Ooh, I always get confused where this is. Let's have a look. View. Freeze pane, sorry, so it's in a different place on Google Sheets, which I'm used to more. So if I click freeze top row, let's have a look at what this does. So now when I scroll down, I still see the table labels at the top, despite where I am in the table. Okay, and I could also do this, for example, if I had a lot more data kind of width ways, I could freeze the columns as well. We're not going to be able to see the effect of that. Oh, we are. Okay, so I can still see the ID no matter where I are when I scroll around, where I am when I scroll around the spreadsheet. So if I wanted to undo what I've just done, it's the same thing. I just click unfreeze panes. All right, next one. So now we're thinking about worksheets. So to switch between worksheets is just down here. We've got sheet 1, sheet 2, sheet 3. So there's nothing in sheet 2, nothing in sheet 3 currently. This is how you switch between them. Insert a new worksheet, so to delete a worksheet, I press this button to insert one. If I right click and go to delete, I can delete one. Recognise good practice in naming worksheets. Okay, just as with everything, you shouldn't call things document 1, sheet 1, stuff, etc. So let's call this one costings, and then let's just think of some random names, so advertising. This one's going to be called employees. Okay, so always give everything names. Next one, copy, move, rename a worksheet within a spreadsheet. Okay, so to rename a worksheet, right click, rename. To move, I press this one, move, copy, and I can move it around. What was the other thing? Copy. If I wanted to copy one, just right click, copy, and I can say the name. I can click this one to create a copy, otherwise it will just move it. Okay, next one. So now we're talking about formulas. So this is where Excel is kind of really useful, but this is also where the syllabus perhaps gets a little bit difficult. Okay, so recognise good practice in formula creation. Refer to cell references rather than type numbers into formulas. So if I want to find the total of the first 5 people, it wouldn't be appropriate for me to say equals 10 plus 5 plus 6 plus 8 plus 4. Okay, so that would be the total of what the first 5 people spent, although apart from the currency thing. In fact, I'm going to change this, so I'm going to remove the currency column, and what I'm going to do, just for the point of this exercise now, is to change all of the currency column to the kind of currency data type, like this, so it's a bit more consistent. So the total of the first 5 people would be 33, but then you need to think, what if for some reason Jewel comes back and spends more money, so she might now spend 25. This doesn't change. And what spreadsheets should do is that they should change the data dynamically if necessary. So the way that you do that is with cell references. So if I'm in this cell, this is cell C3, if I type equals cell C3 into here, it brings the data in from that cell. And you can also do arithmetic with these. So this section's all about arithmetic, which means maths, basically. So if I were to add up all of the cells, it would look like this. Add, like this. Whoops, that was an accident. So now it's making the data dynamic, and if Jewel comes back and spends £27, my total here will automatically update. Okay, there is a better way to write this formula, but we're going to come on to that when we look at functions. Okay, create formulas using cell references and arithmetic operators. So we've just shown you how to do this. If for some reason I wanted to times Tori's money value by Carrie's money value, I could do this by typing equals, and it's just like using a calculator or doing calculations on the computer at least. Where was I? Tory. And this time the asterisk is the symbol used for multiply. So these are called operators. Like this, and then it would times together 8 by 5, giving me 40. So I can do any kind of calculation. I can do subtraction, like this, or I can do divide with the slash. Okay, next one. So identify and understand standard error values associated with formulas. Ooh, okay. So let's see. This is quite a tricky thing to do. Let's see if I can make some errors happen. Okay, that was a pop-up. That's not quite right. Divide. Okay, so I know how to get this one, div 0, because this is a common error that happens throughout kind of computer science. So if I do a formula such as this and type in divide by 0, okay, I get this error. Okay. Generally speaking, though, that won't be because you've done this. It will be you've made a mistake where you've tried to divide a cell with a number by a blank cell. So, for example, C10 divided by F10 gives me this div over 0 error. Okay, so that's divide by 0. Name errors, well, we're not going to learn about that until we do names, but for example, if I want to, for example, name the cell, I would do it like this, name 1. And if I try and refer to a cell, for example here, but spell the name of the cell wrong, that doesn't give me the name error. Bear with me 1 second. Name 1. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't think it would behave in that way. Ah, there. For some reason it was correcting it for me or doing something. Enemy 1 did something different. So if I try and refer to the cell as name, I'm going to get this error, which is a name error. It doesn't know what I'm talking about. What I named the cell was name 1, and there it is able to get the data. Okay, the next one was the reference error. So it's quite hard to think of how to kind of generate these errors, but reference means it's trying to use a cell reference, so rather than a name, it's referring to a cell reference that's causing some sort of problem. Let's see if I can do it by doing this. Nope, it doesn't work. Let's see if I can do it by doing this. Let's see what happens if I try and add up 2 cells with words in. Okay, this is another type of error, value error. Okay, so that's when the data in the cells doesn't support the operation. So I can't add together 2 text items, so 2 strings, and this would give me this value error. So we're going to move on. Perhaps we'll encounter the ref error later on. Okay, next one, understand and use relative absolute cell referencing in formulas. Okay, so what I'm doing at the moment is, so it's hard to think of an example in my example, with this example spreadsheet. I'm going to add a total spend 1, and I'm going to add another column now, and this is going to be total spend 2. Okay, don't worry about this too much, but I'm just going to randomly kind of put some data in by copying and pasting different bits. Okay, so now I have 2 columns. So if I want to do some relative cell referencing, what this does is I would click here. So anytime when it's just C2 plus C3 example, this is relative cell referencing. And back to that tool I used before, which was copy down. Watch what happens when I move it across. Okay, because this is relative cell referencing, I've moved the formula one column over to the right. So it's copied, it's translated the reference to the next cell. So it knows that I now need to add up the D column. If I didn't want to do that for some reason, what I'd need to use is absolute cell referencing. So if you click the name of the cell, press F4 on the keyboard is a good shortcut, and watch it puts these kind of dollar signs before it, and then what would happen now when I copy it over is it stays on the C column. You see that? It's quite a hard thing to demonstrate. A good example of where you would want to do that is where one cell stays absolute, but the next one maintains its relativity. So it would be something like this. One cell reference, rather. So do you see only the relative cell reference changed? So let me put that keyboard shortcut on my list here. So that's a really good shortcut to remember, F4 absolute reference. Okay, where are we now? So, okay, we're on to functions. So you saw right at the start I used a function, and this was the sum function, and what this allowed me to do was add up a list of numbers. Okay, so what this means is sum is working with C38 to C45. Let me just make that a bit better because it should be adding up the whole column. So do you see I changed that and it automatically updated? I'm adding everything up from C2 to the column C45. Okay, some other formulas I could use. So what does it want us to learn? So average is another really helpful one. So it's the same format again. I'm just going to go equals, but this time the function name is average, and inside the brackets it's the same. So C2 to C45, and then that tells me the average spend. Minimum and maximum are the same. So minimum finds the smallest number, maximum finds the largest number. So again, C2, and then you specify the range with the colon, C45, like this. I'm just going to copy and paste that because I keep writing it out again. So the minimum spend was £1, and the maximum spend was £4,798 spent by Janeth. Okay, I hope you see why this is useful, because in some spreadsheets you might have thousands and thousands of data. To be able to point out what is the max and minimum values instantly is really useful. And again, just like with formulas, if someone else comes along, just standard formulas, if someone else comes along and spends more, it will automatically update, okay, because it's using these kind of dynamic references. Okay, so count. So let's have a look at using count. What count does is it counts the number of cells within a reference. Within a range, sorry. So if I wanted to count everything again in this column, it will tell me how many people are in the thing. So 44 people have spent money according to my table. So now we're going to look at count A. Okay. Okay, so what count is useful for. So watch what happens if I count all of both column B and column C. That will give me 44 because there's 44 numeric values. There's only numeric values in column C. So if I use the same formula again, but this time use count A, watch what happens. Like this. So this time it counts everything, so text and numbers. That's not actually a function I've used before, but I can see why it is helpful. Okay, round is a very helpful one as well. So this one, 2, and if I change that to 0, okay, there, we've got some difference. So it's rounded the 84 pence down to a whole pound. Okay, using logical function if, yielding 1 or 2 specific values with comparison operators. So this is very similar to what you might have learned in programming before. So this is helpful. So let's say, so if they haven't paid, so amount to pay. So watch what I'm going to do here. So I'm going to do a formula that says if this is equal to n, so say I'm using the n operator, what this is going to return is this plus this, and then if it's not, it's going to go here. Oops. Sorry, if it's not, I'm going to write NA for non-applicable. So now watch when I copy this down. Anyone that has not paid is going to get a new value in this column. Okay, so I can see the total value for anyone that hasn't paid. That's a bit confusing. Let me just kind of explain how that works. Let me put in a new box. So the way the if function works in Excel is like this. So you start all formula with an equals symbol, Not very helpful unless you can see the writing. Or formula with an equal symbol. Then goes the function's name. It's always followed by brackets. So the way if works is the criteria, not the criteria, and then what happens if true, what happens if false. Okay, so if you put this into kind of more programming words, it's if, condition, then, and else. Okay, so for example, if score is greater than 100, well done, else not good enough. Okay, so in a cell, it would check whether the score, so let's use a cell reference, so it would check whether C5 is greater than 100. If it is, it would display well done in this cell. If it's not, it would display not good enough. So this is some of the trickier stuff you're going to have to learn how to do.